Snow was dusting the Sangre de Cristo peaks pink and silver when I pulled off the winding road, heart pounding faster than the river below. The retreat center was just a cluster of adobe buildings tucked against the mountainside. But to me, it looked like the edge of another world. I wasn't there to find God, or healing, or even myself, really. I just wanted the pain to stop, the numbness, the restless nights, the slow erosion of meaning. But what I found in those mountains outside Santa Fe changed everything. What happened over the next 7 days rewired the way I see faith, the universe, and my own power to be a conscious creator. If you're wondering if it's possible to rebuild your spirit from the ground up, I hope my story gives you hope. I'm Sky, 32 years old, Taos Pueblo and Mexican, born and raised on the sun-blasted clay of Santa Fe. Growing up, faith was all around me. In the Catholic prayers whispered by my grandma, in the stories of my ancestors my uncle shared at gatherings, in the hush of wind over sagebrush at sunset. I always trusted in something bigger, even during hard times. But after my dad's sudden death, then the pandemic, and then losing my job, it was like someone had pulled the plug. Church felt empty. Ceremonies felt distant. I kept showing up, but my heart was just gone. Friends called it depression. My therapist called it an existential crisis. I called it survival. For nearly 2 years, I went through the motions, but every night I'd lie awake wondering, what's the point of any of this? I didn't talk about it, not even with my mom. In our community, doubt feels like disrespect, to your ancestors, to your family, to yourself. But when I finally admitted to myself that I'd lost faith, something inside me cracked open. I realized I had nothing left to lose by seeking help, even if it meant stepping far outside my comfort zone. One chilly Thursday, an email landed in my inbox, Awakening the Spirit, a transformational mountain retreat. I almost deleted it, but the words tugged at me. Maybe it was the promise of silence, or maybe it was just the need to be somewhere my pain wouldn't echo so loudly. I signed up on impulse, half convinced I'd never actually go. But 2 weeks later, I found myself packing a duffel with a journal, a photo of my dad, my worn-out moccasins, and a stubborn hope that something, anything, might change. The air at 7,500 feet hits different, thin, cold, tasting faintly of pine and rain. As I walked to the main hall, my nerves bounced between dread and excitement. The other participants were a mixed bunch: a black poet from Chicago, a white tech worker from Denver, an older Apache woman named Rosa who radiated calm like warm sunlight. Our facilitator was a DNA healer named James, early 40s, eyes full of a mischief that made me trust him instantly. "The mountain does the real work," he said, "but you have to show up and listen." He spoke of universal laws, how energy moves in cycles, how our thoughts and emotions create our experiences. I rolled my eyes, but something in me was listening. The first night, the silence was so thick I thought I'd choke on it. "Go find some quiet," James told us, "and listen to what your spirit is asking for. Then write it down." My head was noisy. Regrets, grief, anger at the world, at myself. I ended up on a boulder overlooking the valley, wind tugging at my braids. For the first time in months, I stared up at the stars and asked without words, "Are you still there? Did you ever hear me at all?" That night, I dreamed of my grandma singing morning songs. I woke up with tears on my face and a strange, fragile sense of being watched over. On day 2, James introduced something new. "Your thoughts create your reality," he said quietly at breakfast. "If you dwell in doubt, you call in more doubt. If you call in trust, you plant seeds for guidance and healing. The world responds to your vibration." He gave us a simple assignment. Visualize not what you lack, but how it will feel when you're healed, or safe, or at peace. Close your eyes. Who do you become when you stop arguing with life? My old skepticism crept in. But up here, with all distractions stripped away, I promised myself to try, just for a day. That evening, I sat by the fire as the wind sang through the pines. I pictured myself laughing with my cousins, dancing at a feast day, waking up grateful. For a moment, I felt silly. Then my chest warmed, just a little, like a match flaring in the dark. "Keep doing it," Rosa said, sitting beside me. "Gratitude is ceremony. Even if you don't believe it at first, the universe is listening, even to your doubts." She shared her story, her husband's death, her years of wandering, and how she rebuilt faith by looking for small signs from the universe. A hawk circling, a song on the radio, a smile from a stranger when she needed it most. Day 4, I woke up before sunrise, restless. I stepped outside to clear my head and saw a line of deer moving through the mist, their breath silver ribbons in the dawn. My grandma always said deer are messengers, guides when you're lost. Something in me softened. My chest, usually so tight, felt open for the first time in a long while. I whispered, "Is that you, Dad?" The wind picked up just then, carrying cedar and sage. Later that morning, James led us through a gratitude practice. "List 10 things," he said, "from the obvious to the tiny." I struggled at first, but slowly things appeared. The taste of green chili stew, a remembered hug, the mountain holding us all. By dinner, old doubts crept in. Was I just chasing comfort? Was any of this real, or was it just a retreat high that would fade the moment I returned to Santa Fe? It's easy to trust when you're surrounded by beauty. What about when the bills pile up again, or grief swallows you whole? That night, I stayed up late journaling. I wrote, "I want faith I can take home, not just faith that lives here." James caught me outside, shivering in the cold. We talked about the power of intention, not just wishing for things, but calling them in with heart and soul. He explained the teachings of Neville Goddard and Louise Hay, how affirmations and self-talk shape the energy fields we swim in. "True faith is action," he said. "You practice until it becomes your default state. It's not about pretending the pain doesn't exist. It's about choosing to belong to hope even when fear seems easier." He suggested I craft an affirmation in my own words. I chose, "I am guided, even in the unknown. My ancestors walk with me. The mountain is inside me." That night, we held a small fire ceremony. Everyone was invited to release something, an old belief, a burden, a fear. I held onto a strip of cloth representing my guilt for losing faith after my dad died. As I dropped it into the flames, a gust of wind shot sparks high into the sky. Right then, my phone, which I'd left off all week, buzzed. My mother sent me a photo she'd found. Dad, younger than I remembered, smiling on a mountain hike, arms stretched wide to the sky. I stared at that photo for a long time, the fire's warmth on my face, thinking about synchronicity and the ways our loved ones reach out from beyond. On the retreat's final morning, after a sunrise hike, James asked us all to sit in silence on the ridge, feel the earth beneath us, and listen for whatever wanted to come through. As I breathed, I felt a hum in my bones, a stillness spreading from my center out into the world. I suddenly knew, without words, that my existence mattered, that the universe held me, even in the darkest nights. Tears came, first quietly, then unstoppable. For the first time since Dad died, I felt both tiny and infinite. My grief was still there, but now I sensed something else. Hope, rooted deep, quietly alive. A phrase bubbled up in my mind like a gift. Raise your vibration, and the world responds in kind. Coming back to Santa Fe was like re-entering the world in a new skin. The city was just as noisy, my job search just as daunting, but there was an undercurrent of calm inside me. I started each morning with a simple visualization, seeing myself moving into a new job, laughing with friends, feeling the presence of my ancestors. In tough moments, I repeated my affirmation, "I am guided. The mountain is inside me." I even shared some of what I'd learned at the retreat with my family. At first, my mom was wary. Old traditions and new ideas don't always mix. But when she saw my spirit lifting, she joined me in my nightly gratitude lists. Slowly, life began to shift. A friend I hadn't spoken to in years called, offering a part-time role at an arts center. I found myself drawn to music again, to painting. I led a small women's circle, sharing manifestation practices and gratitude lists, and pretty soon we all noticed little miracles, unexpected checks, new friendships, flashes of clarity and joy. Of course, doubt still visits. There are hard days when grief surges, or the future feels uncertain. But now I know how to ride those waves instead of drowning in them. Whenever doubt knocks, I remember the deer at sunrise, the fire in the mountains, and my father's smile crossing decades to remind me that love never leaves. I remind myself to let go, to trust that the universe is listening even when I can't see what comes next. I can't say I rebuilt my faith in one weekend. It's a practice, a choice I make every day, often with trembling hands. Manifestation for me isn't about snapping my fingers and getting what I want. It's about learning to become someone who trusts that everything is working out, even when I'm scared. As Dr. Joe Dispenza writes, when you feel as if your prayers are already answered, you open the door for new realities to emerge. That's really what this journey is. Learning, step by step, breath by breath, to live from the inside out, creating a world where love, hope, and possibility are more real than the pain that came before. If you've lost faith in yourself, in your tradition, in the possibility of healing, I want you to know you're not alone. Sometimes it takes the silence of a mountain, the wisdom of strangers, or just one small miracle to remind us that faith can always be rebuilt, no matter how long it's been gone. I still wake each morning and offer a thank you to the sun, to my ancestors, to the mysterious universal laws that connect us all. I trust now that when I listen, the mountain inside me answers. If my story touches something in your heart, if you're ready to rebuild your own spirit, comment below. My faith is rising. And if you believe the universe is listening, like, subscribe and share this story. Someone else may need to hear that hope is always possible. The mountain called me home. Now, every day, I choose to answer that call.